Well, I would
All right.
say, first of all, that all created reality is contingent upon God. But we gotta consider a couple things here. First, God is omnipotent. That means God can do all things logically possible, right? So we'll say God can do all things possible. That's what an omnipotent God can do. Now that means right away that God has libertarian freedom, unless one wants to say that God does everything he can do. But obviously, since we are talking right now, God has not annihilated the universe. That is something an omnipotent God has the power to do. And so we know that God has not done everything he's got the power to do. Most people would say, well, of course, God hasn't done all things that are within his power to do. So that means that God could have done otherwise, and that God has libertarian freedom. But God is omnipotent. So since God has libertarian freedom, we know that the concept is not logically incoherent. So can God create beings, creatures in his likeness who also possess libertarian freedom? And I like to say, does God have the kind of power to create the kind of humans described in 1 Corinthians 10:13, who can actually choose between sinning when they're tempted to sin, or take the way of escape that God provides so that they do not have to sin? Well, if that kind of creature exists, then we have libertarian freedom. Prior to creation, does God have the power to create humans with libertarian freedom? If one said yes, then let's move to God's omniscience. In God's omniscience, knowing the truth value to all propositions, does God know how these creatures within his power to create would freely choose if he creates them, and even if he never does? If the answer is yes, then God has this middle knowledge. So these counterfactuals that exist apart from God's will, they are grounded in the nature of God, in the nature of a maximally great being who is both omnipotent and omniscient.